When I began this course, the only question I had was, will this be the piece that brings all the work I have been doing together? I hoped that it would provide a foundation to my movement workshops, help me deepen my own body-oriented practices, and give me the courage to truly step into the one-on-one coaching space. Last year, I began to question the way I had been leading, teaching, and facilitating within the group, dance, and movement space. I shifted away from telling and showing people exactly what to do through the structure of choreography, and I began to simply hold the space, to provide ways to warm up the body and attune to its needs, and encourage my students to examine for themselves these questions. What does my body need today? And what do I need to release to truly be in this space, to truly move my body freely? A much more radical and complicated endeavor than I had initially imagined. Those questions remained with me throughout this course and blossomed within the context space and as a result of the access to knowledge provided by the Somatic School. My curiosity shifted to, are there other questions to ask first? Like, how can we allow the body to speak first, before the mind creates judgments, assumptions, and expectations? These questions lingered somewhere in my gut, fluttering a little more quickly when we learned about focusing, when I witnessed how powerful concrete feedback could be, and when I both facilitated and experienced the embodiment and self-supportive touch interventions. All of this inspired the desire to fuse these body-oriented methods with a practice I was already exploring and sharing within the context of my own work, what I'm now calling body-oriented intuitive movement. So what is body-oriented intuitive movement? A mouthful for sure. It's a somatic intervention that encourages the coachee to stand, sit, or lay, and allow their body to speak through movement. It is led by the coach and designed to help coachees access their present moment experience through the lens of the body. It is giving the body the space to lead, to be, to move, or to be still and notice movement. Intuitive movement is inspired by other interventions and modalities like focusing, embodiment, self-supportive touch, dance movement therapy, authentic movement, improvisational dance, and moving mindfulness techniques. It is different from improvisation and other formats in that it's not influenced by a piece of music, a prompt, or by the need to perform or create. It flows from the invitation to just be, allow, and then to notice what is there. Be that a specific inquiry, a physical sensation, a resistance to something, or even discomfort arising directly from the experience of standing and being asked to listen and acknowledge the body. So why begin with the body? What can body-oriented intuitive movement allow us to explore? First of all, we so often move the body only to accomplish something, as a means to an end, a way of getting from place to place, and not for the sake of movement itself, to see what's present, or to ask the body what it needs. We will our body into moving with a purpose, whether it's walking us home, lifting weights, participating in a yoga class, or turning the steering wheel. These intentional movements hold value and potentially hold deeper meaning, but my reason for bringing this up is because we often don't see movement as having value in a context outside of utility. Or maybe it's that we don't see our bodies as having value outside of what they look like or what they can get or do for us. So then, what happens if we just move to see what is true in the moment for us? Would we be able to unlock a more consistent ability to be versus always having to do or go through the motions? If you can give someone a means to truly evaluate how they are, what they are experiencing, and how they move through the world, can transformation happen? Secondly, and in the context of coaching, what seems to get brought to the table at the beginning of a session is what the coachee believes they should be bringing up. While this can be extremely valuable, it necessitates that we, as coaches and coachees, dig deeper and get more curious to finally, hopefully, get to the root of what's really there, what's really present. Could beginning with the body bring us to a more honest starting point that surpasses conditioning, self-judgment, societal pressure, and the shoulds of the mind that generally speak and are asked to speak first? As I sat down to begin contemplating, writing, and executing how I wanted to approach my real-world inquiry, my initial certainty was pierced with doubt and self-judgment. I had judgment for and about my thoughts, ideas, and endeavors. I talked it through with coaches, a therapist, friends, and family. I stressed myself out and vacillated between doubt and certainty until I just turned that question around and asked myself, what if I begin with the body and allow it to speak first? It was ultimately using this practice with myself and then introducing it to clients and peers that unlocked my ability to move forward with this real-world inquiry, or at least getting it down on paper and out into the world. So what could this do for the collective? Changing the way we move through a space, even our own space, has the potential to change the way we move through the world and interact with one another. It helps us notice what's happening within ourselves and what's worth exploring versus when and how we might get ourselves out of a situation in which we are uncomfortable. Once comfort is cultivated, we can use movement to evoke release, joy, and connection. I believe movement and dance should be inclusive and for everyone. At some point in certain societies, we moved away from the recognition of all that can be gained by collective and individual movement. We attached movement to skill, certain body types or gender expressions, and alienated ourselves from movement for movement's sake. I believe this work can help break down the judgments and assumptions that have stagnated us so we can all move more freely through this world and through our lives, balancing surrender with structure and attuning ourselves to the flow of life.